Hello, welcome to Queer Cinema Catchup. I'm Joe.
And I'm Allison.
And today is a very special episode. We have Happy Horror Time. Matt and Tim are here with us today. Hello.
Hi. How's it going?
Today we're talking about the movie What Keeps You Alive. And Alice, do you want to do a little
Yes.
spiel
So,
about it?
What Keeps You Alive is a horror film, and it's a 2018 Canadian psychological horror film written and directed by Colin Minahan. It stars Hannah Emily Anderson and Brittany Allen and follows a young woman fighting for her life as her wife's murderous intentions become evident. The film premiered at the South by Southwest Film Festival on March 10th, 2018.
That's 7 years ago,
I know.
guys.
Isn't that crazy?
That doesn't feel correct.
I am so glad you brought this movie to my attention because I've never heard of it.
Me neither.
So that's the thing. So my boyfriend and I saw it in 2018 on
my
demand.
gosh.
Like, we will just look for random horror movies.
Were you at South by Southwest?
Yeah, we're at, oh God, we're at South by Southwest, me, Meryl Streep. Like, she goes to South by Southwest.
She might.
It's like an indie film festival, right? Anyway, so Meryl and I, no, we just go on demand looking for horror all the time. We're just like, we watch horror all the time. So does Tim. And we saw this movie and it just like the log line looked good. And we were so impressed. I remember being so impressed, and not often when you find an on-demand movie are we that impressed, but we were really impressed. It's like one of those movies that keeps you, and it should be called What Keeps You Entertained. Am I right?
You are right.
No, it's just, we were just really impressed with it, but we never got to talk about it because we hadn't been doing Happy Horror Time at that point. So now we get to talk about it.
Yeah, we were discussing what movie to watch, and we just kind of picked it randomly, and I didn't have any expectations going into it, except for the fact that it had decent reviews. I'm like, okay, I'll probably be decent, but it started, and there was something about the way the opening scene is two women showing up at this like eerie big cabin.
Yeah.
And they're clearly in love, and they're just like walking through these dark rooms, which is creepy, but they find it romantic. And I was like, ooh, I think I'm gonna like this film.
I went into it completely blind. I mean, like, I didn't watch the trailer. I knew nothing. So when he pushed play, I was like, everything was new. And I'm so glad I didn't watch the trailer because I thought the trailer gave away way too much.
You had an interesting experience where, well, okay, you texted me and said something insane happens in this movie, and you'll know when it happens.
Yes.
And so I was sort of like, what could it be? But then you had said that you didn't even know it was in the log line.
No. If I'd read the log line, it would have given it away, which I feel like that was like the exciting part of the movies when that moment happens near the beginning.
How spoilerish are you?
We can
We're
spoil
being very
everything.
spoilish. I know we're being very cryptic for anyone
Yeah.
listening right now.
Yeah. No, we spoil everything.
The thing that happened.
On our
We're
reviews,
not going to talk about it.
when something as shocking as what happened in the middle of this film happens, like, okay, did you guys ever watch House of Cards?
Yeah,
the show?
it is
Do you
like that.
remember when in the second season when they
Yes.
pushed the girl in front of the
Yes.
subway and everybody was like this? That's what this movie. Should we just talk about it
Yes.
now? Okay.
God, Jackie, this view is just...
It's like you think they're a happy couple, and then out of nowhere, one of them just pushes the other one
Well,
off.
I don't know if
cliff.
it was out of nowhere. She was
Okay, well,
playing the guitar.
out of
The
nowhere.
fucking guitar at the beginning of the movie cracks me up. Where she's like thinking about like a demon being
Okay,
inside
so
of her.
my boyfriend and I, and I'm sorry, I know it's my boyfriend and I.
Hey, are you in a couple?
No, that's so annoying. I know, it's so annoying. After that movie, he used to come up to me like in the dark and say, "There's a demon inside. There's a demon inside," because they play that song in this movie and it's so creepy.
Yeah.
But it like turns her on and then they start hooking up.
I know, that part really unsettled me. So the girl who pushes her wife is Hannah Emily Anderson, and we are introduced to her as Jackie. And yeah, pretty quickly there's this moment where she's like playing the demon song. Another moment where she disappears from the house and is staring out at the lake, kind of disassociated, and you're sort of like, what's going on with her?
It's like red flag after red flag.
Well, wasn't the original red flag is when her friend came to the door and she's like, what was her?
Megan?
Yeah, she's like, the name thing is the
She's like-
biggest red
And
flag.
her wife's like, I didn't know you were named Megan. Like, why didn't you tell me that? And she has some kind of bullshit reason why.
Well,
and so,
and for being a serial killer, you think you should have a better answer. That it seemed like she like, got caught in a lie, but it's like, shouldn't you have been prepared that
Yeah.
someone from
The
your past
funniest-
might show
might
up
come
and
up.
get
The
them?
funniest
Yeah.
thing was that was the only thing in this movie where being gay came up, and I actually kind of like that. I don't know about you guys, but I know the name of your podcast is Queer Cinema Catchup, so we can talk about that stuff. But like, I like being a gay man movies where there's gay characters, but they don't have to talk about like I'm gay or come out. It's just they're just a normal couple, and that's kind of what this movie was.
Yeah.
But then she jumped on that as the reason I think why she changed her name. She's like, oh, I wasn't comfortable with myself, so I changed my name. I'm like, you don't change your name when you come out. That's
Was she a lesbian by convenience?
So apparently there's a deleted scene.
easier to kill.
You know.
Deleted scene where the other lockets, so should be the long story short here, she turns out to be a serial killer who is killing many of her wives / partners for monetary gain, but also it seems like she kind of enjoys it and she's keeping little tokens, and it's all these lockets when she's given her wife the locket. And the deleted scene is that the wife, played by Brittany Allen, Jules, opens the lockets and there are both partners, like male and female partners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that when I killed people.
It's men and women.
Yeah. No, did it remind you of Annie with the lockets? Anyone? Okay, I'm showing my
Annie
age.
with the lockets. You mean like
The
Annie?
musical?
Do you remember
Little
Annie?
red-haired Annie?
Yes. Do you remember like she had like the locket?
For her mom. I do remember now that you
What Keeps You Alive and Annie, very similar movies.
Practically Annie the musical.
You gotta watch
You'll
this
like
movie.
this film.
One thing I read on, because it's funny, we totally use Wikipedia too, and I'm like the Bible. And one thing I read on that is that the original script, I guess, was going to be a man and a woman.
It was.
I'm assuming that it would be the woman killing all the husbands, or maybe it was the men. I don't know.
I think it was supposed to be the man because the woman playing the wife, Jules, who gets pushed off the cliff, was always going to be that actress. And I found some quotes. They were at South by Southwest and they talked about the decision. And basically it sounds like in the early phases, right before they're about to shoot, the man playing the husband dropped out. So they had to quickly scramble and they just decided to go with a female
Oh, I didn't
person
realize
instead.
that was the last element. Because you told me this
Yes.
earlier. I didn't realize they literally switched the gender last
Yeah,
minute.
and then they were like, well, I guess this makes it like newer and fresher. So I don't think they put like a lot of thought
so it
into
wasn't
it.
We're gonna be hip. Let's make it a same-sex.
It's gonna be
It's
gay.
gonna be so today.
But I kind of I like that because, well, first off, I don't know. It's like either way, if it was a man killing all of his wives,
I feel like
that's
we've seen
disturbing,
that.
and we've seen that.
Yes.
You know, like that's real life. I mean, it's just awful,
Yeah.
but it's real life. A lot of men kill their wives, and like I don't know how long did it take before they were even stalking
Wasn't
laws.
there
Like,
a Tender documentary? I mean, granted, he didn't kill them, but he took all their money.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
what inspired Colin Minahan to write this film. Is he was watching a lot of true crime, and he and Jules, Brittany Allen, are a couple in real life. And she would always come home. He was always watching true crime, and then he was watching a particular series about a guy who would kill his wives for the insurance money. And he's like, I want to make a movie about this.
Tim's like,
It's like, I'm poor.
you know,
so-
random thing. Are you guys Dexter fans? I'm sorry.
I used to love Dexter.
Okay, are you watching Dexter Original
No, but
Sin?
I really want to.
Brittany Allen plays Dexter's mom in flashbacks in the original Sin. So when we're watching it, she looks completely different because in this movie she has like a short haircut, you know, that kind of thing. She has like long hair. They dress her very like feminine, glamorous,
Yeah.
and like. But we're like, I recognize that woman, and she's in Dexter Original
That's
Sin
so
now. So
crazy.
I don't know. We love horror connections. We always are like.
Well, it's fun how generally it seems a lot of actors who do horror tend to stick in the horror world, and I appreciate that too because then you kind of get to. It feels like you're following your friends.
I didn't know she was. So she's married to the director.
I either married or in a
Nepotism.
Wait, which girl's married to the director? The killer or the victim?
The
Victim.
Oh, okay.
She had like a weird quote. I feel bad reading it because it's kind of I don't know how I feel about it. When she explained the change and how she felt about it, and she said, "Hang on, sorry, I just lost it."
She goes, I had a lot of fun filming.
She's like, hey, I want to be the murderer. Can you push me off a cliff a few more times?
Well,
Or-
the thing about this movie is that it happens twice.
And
Yeah, I know the fact that
That's
That
my
part-
only. If I have, because I after
with
we
you.
finished watching it, I was like, this was like maybe the best movie I've seen of 2024. Because I mean, again, I didn't see the trailer. I was like, everything was like, wow, I'm being blown away.
2025.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. Oh yeah. Thank you. Time change.
This is the best movie of 2024. Came out 2018. We're in 2025
You know what?
right
No,
now.
because
It's like,
I went into it so blind that I was like, everything they're showing me is blowing my mind.
it's true. No, he was really like,
I was like, this is
on
so
the edge of
good.
his seat. Like he was really like the whole time. And during the movie as we were watching, he's like, if she ends up dead at the end, I'm going to be really pissed. Like he kept saying that.
I was like, I
and-
don't want her to be
I really want her
dead.
to survive as well. And I guess just quickly for everybody listening, what ends up happening after her wife pushes her off the cliff, the wife goes home and is preparing to call the police to say, my wife fell off a cliff.
That
I'm
was
so
creepy when she's
sad."
rehearsing in the
It
bathroom.
was so disturbing. But turns out when she goes back, her wife has actually managed to crawl away and hasn't passed away, and then it becomes like a hunt movie where she's trying to track her down to kill her, but
Literally,
can't
she has like
kill
a
her.
sniper or something.
She's
She's
not
going
going to
through the
shoot her.
woods.
She needs her to fall off a cliff so she can do her weird insurance / serial killer
Yeah, so it can be an accident.
thing. So then there's like, that part was a little bit like, there's a part where they're back together in the house and they have to have dinner with their friends because
She yelled.
yells.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
8
decisions.
o'clock tonight.
There's a lot of decisions she makes that I feel like I would have been like when Jules gets away and is trying to row to the people across, and Jackie catches up with her, and she's like, don't say anything or I'll kill you. At that point, if I feel like I'm gonna die anyway, I'm gonna just yell for help because
Same.
that would screw up her plan. Like, how are you gonna say it's an accident when I get stabbed to death in a canoe?
Yeah.
That's not an
They
accident.
did a good job with the character because he was always drinking, so I was like, he's not going to be any help.
I did really appreciate that character. He didn't have much airtime, but he just was like, oh, I know that guy.
He did a lot.
I was like, he's dead. I literally turned to Matt and I was like,
Yeah, dead.
dead.
And also another thing, I thought when she kills the couple in when they come to dinner because she thinks Jules is telling on her, Jules doesn't help, and I was just like, I looked at Tim and I was like, there's 3 of them, 1 of her.
Yeah, I was
take her
surprised.
on.
like tackle her, and the others will help.
Yeah.
I was confused about
I
that.
was too, and I guess I can buy that the husband died because it was taken by surprise, and
Yeah.
but then his wife had been saying to him something's wrong with her, like I don't like her, I don't trust her, so he should have been listened
high
to his
guard.
wife. and
I knew he was going to get his throat slit. I knew it. I was like, I just see it. Yeah, I was like, this isn't going to end well.
It's kind of like a classic horror movie trope that I love is when like someone inside knows something bad's gonna happen outside, is trying to warn that person. They're like, huh? And then they get killed in the moment. Yeah.
Always listen when someone warns you.
Well,
That's
did
the
you
thing.
guys recognize, I don't know if how familiar you are with the what's the title of that film?
Last House on the
Last House on the
I've
Left,
never seen it.
2009. It's so disturbing. It's hard for me to
The
recommend
girl who
it.
plays the wife, her friend, I think what's her name? No, Megan was the.
I don't remember her
Sarah
character.
something.
Sarah was Sarah.
Okay, Megan, Sarah, white girl names. Brittany. Yeah. She was in this Last House on the Left,
And
movie,
she,
which
in
is
her fate
disturbing.
in that movie is equally as
She gets stabbed and
disturbing.
killed in that movie too. So yeah, we'll bring up all the horror references. I don't know. Are you guys big horror fans?
I
And it's okay if you're not.
love horror. I would say maybe I probably don't have the instant ability to recognize something like a reference, but I love every time I see a horror movie, I'm like, that was really good. Pretty much, unless it was really bad.
How are you, Joe?
Bill Hader on the
I asked Joe if he recognized who this was on the shirt. This is Debbie Salt. She was Ghostface in Scream 2, was Laurie Metcalf, and it's my favorite Scream, and he thought it was Bill Hader.
Well, given my extremely wrong answer, I do love horror movies. I also love the Scream franchise. But you wouldn't know it from my
You
answer.
remember Scream 2, though?
Yeah.
Her? Okay,
yes,
that,
I do. Yeah.
You're like, now I get
The Debbie Salt, though, what I am missing that connection.
So in the movie, that's her fake name that she gives so she can hunt down Sydney at college. She says she's a reporter named Debbie Salt. And in the end scene, when she reveals that she's actually her boyfriend's mom from the first one, the big line is, Debbie Salt doesn't exist.
She goes, it's a makeover.
So we always say, it's Debbie Salt, but she doesn't exist. Anyway, I guarantee now when you watch Scream 2,
That's
again,
all
if-
I'll notice.
Maybe we'll have to watch tonight.
you should, because then they're like, oh, wow. Watch it tonight, please. It's our
My-
favorite one. You guys will
My
like
favorite Scream is Scream 3.
Me too. Yeah.
It's like messy, it's Hollywood.
Yes, I say the same thing.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that like that. Not my favorite, but there's a lot of people that like that one for very good reasons. You know, it was kind of it's more hokey Scooby-Doo-ish.
Yeah.
Well, they had to rearrange the whole entire movie because it was right after. Not to
Columbine.
be, I hate to be a downer and be like Columbine.
Yeah.
Well, they apparently the original idea was it was going to be more like a cult, which a bunch of teenage killers, and right after Columbine, when teenagers went in, they were like, nope. Anyway, weird tangent.
Yeah.
So when you, Matt, like were giving us like movie ideas to do on this episode, you had mentioned that What Keeps You Alive is part of like a Hulu horror.
Oh no, that was the other movie, Midnight Kiss.
okay.
Yeah, because we knew we'd be talking with you guys around January, and so
It's a Palm Springs gay men thriller, like kind of a whodunit.
Yeah, that
Until
takes
the very
place on-
end.
And it takes place on New Year's, so we were thinking timely. Now, What Keeps You Alive could be any time, but that one was part of. So Hulu used to do this series called Into the Dark, where every month they released a new horror movie that was related to like a holiday of the month. So February was Valentine's Day. Yeah, you can still, so if you have Hulu.
March was a little rough.
There were a lot that were a little rough. Midnight Kiss was fun because, I mean, it's a fun slasher. It has a lot of eye candy for men. And I don't even know, are there any, there's one female character in that movie.
I liked her though. And did she live? I don't even, she did live.
Spoiler.
I'm sorry, for everyone that hasn't seen Midnight Kiss.
Yeah, that was the other movie from
We should watch that one too.
Yeah.
So we have homework to do. We need to watch
It's
Scream
true.
2 and Midnight.
But this movie that we're talking about, I think,
Quality-wise.
Scream 2 aside, I think this movie is better than all of them.
All
thought
the
it
Into the Dark.
Yeah, everything that
good.
we're talking about.
Did you guys
really
both
liked
like, I don't even think we asked, did you like What Keeps You Alive?
Yeah, I did. I really liked it. And then we were kind of getting close to it. But the only thing I didn't, that kind of took me out of it, well, there were kind of two things. One, the serial killer, the psychopath, like, they kind of hint at that this is the way she, I think she didn't has a line, like, it's nature, not nurture, when her wife's like, why are you like this? Which is interesting given the context that they are both queer, like the kind of how that's parallel to like, it's just who I am, but it's kind of weird because it's psychopathy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also just kind of like, is there more to her than just like, she's a serial killer? And then two, that the wife goes back.
Yes.
I was like, you escaped, why are you
Yeah.
going back?
She was in a Jeep. She could have driven
and gotten the
away.
police or done something, and she still could have, gotten her wife in trouble and had her day.
I mean, she did. I mean, the ending's kind of satisfying, but I really wanted.
Her to live.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
I was just like, oh.
I was saying, it kind of reminds me of like in Promising Young Woman. It's the complete revenge. Like you think I'm the one dead, but you're pretty much dead also. I feel like that's what they're trying to do in this movie, and
Yeah.
it didn't quite
Well, especially because they both end up dead.
Yeah.
Well, the very end, did you catch, you hear
you're
her
holding
take a breath.
We
Right.
listened to
Now
it 3
she's got to be
times.
paralyzed, everything, because we listen to it and you hear like a, meaning
Right.
it's like it keeps you like, what keeps you alive?
I think the director probably was like, it's open to your interpretation, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
very David Lynchy, R.I.P.
I guess I do kind of like that, yeah.
I kind of like that only because you really want to, in your mind, think that she's going to make it through
Yeah,
this
you
because it's been so
do.
tough. So that little like taking a breath, it's like, okay, she'll make it. And in your mind, you can say, she went to the hospital, she's great. Of course, after those both falls, she'd be fucked up for
She's got
life.
some problems, but she will live to fight another day. Yeah, I guess for context for everybody listening, she like manages to escape, is driving away, and then like flashes back to this conversation where she and her wife are together, and she says that they were kind of like being silly, and she was saying she was a seagull, but then her wife's like, I'm a bald eagle, and then she sees a bald eagle in the tree and decides to go back.
I mean, some people, what is that called? Like a codependent relationship?
Yeah.
Maybe she was trauma bonded. I'm using lots of.
I know, hello there.
Yeah, you know.
I was thinking she was going back to finish her off.
That's what I thought,
because
too.
I feel like she'd have to live the rest of her life thinking that she's going
But
to be
she's
coming
not a
after
killer.
her. She doesn't.
Yeah. No.
She's not, but she knows that the girl's going to be after her forever because
And after other people. I think that was
Yes,
a motivator
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
But anyway, she goes back, and of course she ends up dying in the same way. Like she gets pushed off a cliff again.
Did you guys see the movie The Pit?
No.
I know. No, but at the ending.
Deep cut.
I know.
Even horror fans haven't seen The Pit.
The
Don't
pit.
worry.
Just at the very end, I was like, because this little kid pushes people in the pit throughout the whole movie. And then at the very, very end, I'm giving away the ending. At the very end, this girl, she meets him and she pushes him in the pit. And I was like, that is such a satisfying ending. So I was looking for a pit ending.
Yeah, I wanted her to be pushed off the cliff, but instead, no. But then she does get her comeuppance because it's been established early on that she has diabetes, needs insulin. And then they kind of wrote in that the wife was good at science, but it was kind of like shoved in there in a little line, and then she somehow poisoned the insulin.
It's very Promising Young Woman because it's like
There's
see
a video
after
made
death.
too, whereas there's like the phone call on Promising Young Woman to explain what's going
And
on.
a song. Wasn't a song important in Promising Young Woman?
All I remember is Stars Are Blind.
I remember
Missing the grocery store.
yeah.
I was so upset when Bo Burnham turned out to be bad.
That felt like the most realistic part of that movie. I was like, yep, that tracks.
She have the planned text messages in Promising Young Woman to send after her death. I'm like, that's a lot of prep. Then there's the
that
like,
movie was so ridiculous.
what did you guys think of the choice? I'm sure the director, but is their final conflict. You don't see. You just hear it
upstairs.
taking place above the rafters. I just thought that was a little weird. Like I
Oh,
didn't love that because
I
I
liked
wanted to
it.
see what happened. But I guess that was to keep you wondering: is she gonna make it? Is the other girl gonna make it? You know, you just see the rafters and you hear them struggling.
I think when I watched that, I assumed that they cut away because they were going to surprise us and it was going to be the weaker character prevailing, and you'd be like, oh, she survived, but instead it was
didn't.
like the serial killer coming down.
Yeah, I was pissed. I was like, man.
I
But I
want her
wonder
to
if
win.
they're, I think they were like building on our expectations
And, like,
of expecting to be surprised in a way, and then surprising you by disappointing you. And then I do think like with horror movies, I mean with all movies, but there are always like metaphors and symbolism for different things. So you brought up like a codependent relationship. Like I feel like this movie is definitely speaking to that, and that's why Jules keeps going back, because they kept showing flashbacks of their like the happy moments with them together. And I think there's like a really devastating line where Jules asks, like, was any of it real? Like, did you ever really love me? She's like, no.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, cold blooded.
That was rough.
I kind of liked her saying nature versus nature versus nurture.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, I don't know, some of the horror movies I like the best are the simplest that don't have explanations. Like, as soon as they go into, oh, the killer had a horrible child and
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
this stuff, then you start to feel empathy for them. And it's like, some people are just psychopaths.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't need the explanation. That to me makes it scarier when it's like, you don't even know a reason. Like, I felt like Jules kept trying to figure out, like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And she's just like, this is just me. And that's terrifying that there's people out there like that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, her whole section there, she says, nature, not nurture. I'm free, you're trapped by your emotions, weighed down by guilt, conscious as your Achilles heel. Like, it was pretty chilling. But then I do feel like it's weird because they are queer, and obviously they made that change later, so I don't think they thought about it, but I feel like some of that
Could be interpreted
could
badly.
be interpreted as someone, like, I don't know, like the
Queer
line.
has
It's
no
like, okay,
context.
but I don't think they thought about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we've had how many decades of movies with killers that have been straight, that are psychopaths, that it's like, hopefully people won't watch this and be like, okay, queer people are psychopaths. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, I think it's equal opportunity.
Yeah.
We can all be psychopaths.
We can all be psychopaths.
Whatever, like, we
Like
want
if
gay people.
True
basic
equality.
instinct has that.
Gays are crazy too.
Right. We could be crazy.
We could be crazy. We could be cool.
We could kill you.
The true equality. This is what we've been fighting for
Right.
decades, to be represented as serial killers.
Well, do you remember when people were picketing Basic Instinct 2 because it was like the ice pick killer was a woman, and everyone was like, no, like
Wait,
this is bad.
Basic Instinct 2?
But Basic Instinct as well.
also.
Yeah. I mean,
It's like,
I try not to bring up
they
Basic
let the
Instinct
first
2.
Basic Instinct go by, but that
No,
sequel.
but queer people were mad about that
Yeah.
because, and I was like, what are we?
She was bisexual, and they're
Right.
like,
Yes,
oh,
yeah.
she's crazy.
Yeah.
When did that movie come out? What-
92.
I will say this, if this movie had come out 80s or 90s, I
Yeah.
could definitely see people interpreting like, oh, queer equals psychopath. Now, anybody who would take that would be shitty. But there probably are people that would see that,
Yeah,
you know?
or like I just think it's like interesting when queerness is tied to criminality and like movies, but like nowadays there's so much queer media, so it's like, oh, we want to see every type of person, including
Serial killers, yeah.
But yeah, if it had been like 10, 15 years ago, you'd be like, wait, there's no media with people like me in it, and I have a villain, and that's it.
I mean, it's like, I guess, well, the killer, and I won't spoil Midnight Kiss, but the killer is gay in that, but everyone is gay in that movie. So
Like,
there's so many
the way
gay
you
people
described it,
in
it
that.
sounded like.
Yeah. So it's like, they definitely have everything in that one. Very different movie, though.
They don't have dinosaurs.
They do not have dinosaurs. There's no Jurassic
Taking
Park.
it off of our homework list.
And I do want your quote with the actor who plays Jules. I thought was really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
But just like, what keeps you alive is just, I mean, you brought up Basic Instinct. There's, I mean, I guess just as time goes on, like so many movies get made, but then the film industry seems to be like shrinking at the same time. But then there's like all these movies that come in under the radar. So it's really amazing when like some move, like marketing is so important to get a movie out there. And then even though this was at South by Southwest, I like never
Heard of it.
knew of its existence.
I was really
Same.
like when I was watching it in the very beginning, once the hunt sequence started, it was like pretty bloody, pretty like tense, and that kind of thing really unsettles me. And it was the same feeling I have when I watch Yellow Jackets, which really scares me because it just feels like they shared DNA a little bit.
Yeah. That wilderness chase, cat and
Yes.
mouse type thing.
People didn't know about this movie, which is a shame because it was
Well,
tapping into something that became really popular.
I have such a mental block. I cannot remember the title. I can't even remember the title right now as we're
No.
sitting here. So, something to stay alive.
Staying alive.
Staying alive.
What is the
staying
title?
alive.
What keeps you alive?
What keeps you alive? I think it's and I love the movie. I think everyone does a great job. I do not. The title gives me a mind blow.
We were complaining about it too. I was
We were
like, what the hell is the name of this movie?
I can't remember.
And I kept Googling, like, you are alive.
Why are
Time
you
to stay alive. I was like, what is it?
I put
Staying
in.
alive.
This is horrible. I put in lesbian horror film.
You know how a lot of horror films that we watch, there'll be like a lull or like a kind of a downtime and stuff. And the one thing about this movie is there really wasn't. Like you're really. I think the slowest part was the beginning, just like kind of create or introducing everyone to their dynamic. But then you get right into like as soon as the neighbors come over and you find out she's been lying about her name. Then there's questioning. Then you get right to the being thrown off the cliff.
Yes.
Then it's like straight on cat and mouse hunting thriller. So like there really wasn't a moment for being bored.
I do have a question, which was, before the push, you know that Jackie's kind of bad, or in some way something's wrong with her, something's going to happen. But did you think it was going to be that? Because I didn't. I thought when she sang that demon song, I'm like, this is going to be supernatural.
Yeah, I thought she was
in
going to be
nature.
possessed.
I was hoping it wouldn't be supernatural. I was like, don't go there.
As soon as I heard that their friend mysteriously died when they were young, I was like, no, I knew that it had to be that Jackie was responsible. I wasn't expecting her to just suddenly like push her off the cliff like that. I thought they were going to build. She'd be doing stuff behind her back, but so I was shocked. I remember when we rewatched it, this was the second time. So I was just like waiting for Tim to react because we knew what was going to happen. But the first time I watched it, I was just like I had to like rewind it. I was like, did that just happen? Because it comes out of nowhere.
Well,
but the mysterious kid dying, I knew that had to be connected, you know?
I definitely thought she was probably responsible, but I still thought it was going to be like she's a vampire or something crazy like that, or a
You mean
demon.
because there's a demon
Yeah, I was just taking it very literally.
Well, I thought it was okay that she questioned her. She's like, the questioning about the name, I was like, big deal. But then the questioning of the missing friend when she got over there, I was like, okay, now you do need to talk about that.
You've never mentioned it this whole time that you had this tragic loss as a child that probably really shaped you.
Yeah.
You know, we're married. We're not dating. Like, we're married.
But I
don't
mean,
know.
the name thing, I was kind of like, why is she pushing so hard?
Oh, I would have. See, it's funny because Jacob and I were talking, and I said, if I found out you went by a different name and hadn't told me, that deal breaker. Like, that's just too big of a thing. That's a big lie.
Yeah, especially if you're getting married, you have to like sign legal paperwork. So you think like your real name would have come up, and that's the part where I was kind of like, huh.
And this wasn't a
I would be
nickname.
upset.
It was like Megan, not
Completely different,
Jackie.
very different
It wasn't like
names.
Sissy.
I went by Sissy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Megan's
that
a
was
name.
a big deal. The name, and then like the friend mysteriously dying. Yeah, it just so.
I mean, but I
creepy.
love that she was asking questions. I was like,
Yes.
okay, there's the name and then there's the tragedy. So, okay, now the door's open.
You got to find out the truth.
Yeah.
Even if it's that your wife actually is a serial killer.
The movie did something so creative when she's like behind the tree and she's just like, girl, like, are you out here? Are you out here? And I was like, she's right there.
Well, when she was changing her expression, that was so terrifying. She's like, "Oh, where are you?"
And then she
And then
can
she
roll her
like-
eyes or something.
So scary. That kind of stuff scares me.
Yeah.
It's like, again, that's why like a true psychopath who really has no idea of like the difference between right and wrong, no emotions, no conscience, like that is scary because you can't reason with that person.
No.
You can't beg to that person. There's just no emotion. So there was nothing she could do. And I'm trying to think, God, I hope I would never fall for someone who would be like that. Jacob's a psychopath. No, but like,
You'll find
how
out.
do you know, like that you just have no conscience? And how do you marry someone like that and not see that?
Yeah.
I did read a book called Sociopath, and it was written by a alleged sociopath. She always felt very different. She was very aware that her lack of emotions was making her kind of be strange in the classroom, like when she was a little kid, and that would make her really upset, and this tension would build, and then she would do something bad to like relieve the tension. And so then as she gets to adulthood, she goes to a psychologist. She says that you might be a sociopath, even though that's not a real term. And then it was about how she tried to learn to, I guess, work through it to have like a productive life. And she is married. And I was like, it was a really interesting book. And I was like, whoa. And then I Googled it afterward, and people were like, is she really a sociopath?
I love sociopaths. I love psychopaths. Not to like be friends with them, but like to just figure out like how do they go through the world?
Yeah. Well,
It's gotta be tough.
Her perspective on it was like,
I feel really bad for those
like
psychopaths.
it's like a spectrum, and like people who have like too much emotion are on the other side.
Wow. It makes you think, like, are we all some level of either too emotional or not emotional
Probably.
enough? Well, I mean, it's like,
Probably.
I guess I just...
Well, I
like,
learned-
Tim, No emotions.
None. No, I'll cry. I cry during The Bold and Beautiful every day.
Another sort of crazy is that.
No, but like narcissism is the same thing as psychopaths and sociopaths. So if you have to question whether or not you're a narcissist or not, then you are not. I didn't learn that.
Yeah, I've
So if
seen
you're
that before.
like-
It's very reassuring.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I'm not. So whew.
Do you have the quote from Brittany?
Sure. Okay, yeah, so this was about when they did change the character to a woman last minute. And Jules, played by Brittany Allen, I keep forgetting, gave this response to explain her reaction to the change. When it changed to be a relationship between two women, my character really changed. And this was something that all happened pretty rapidly in the months leading up to the filming. I actually got even more excited with the changes because of all the reasons Colin mentioned. They're in a kind of they're being interviewed, I think, at South by Southwest.
It's Colin the director.
Yes. Okay. It just felt more relevant to today. It felt fresher. It felt like a new take on the genre and on the story. But also for me, I got to play a character I had never played before and access parts of myself that maybe prior to filming I wouldn't always express, which were kind of just more, I want to use the term, for me it was I found my masculinity. I found my, I dug deeper into my voice, and then she kind of gestured downward and she was like, gut and my genitals. And I led from there. It was really, really liberating. And she did a great job. Like, I actually thought her performance felt really authentic, and I thought she was queer.
Was she trying to tiptoe around saying butch or something? It almost sounded like she's
I was like, I feel like in saying that you dug from your genitals, it sounds very actory, but also sounds a little offensive.
Yeah.
I feel bad putting that quote out there.
Sometimes I think people just, if they don't quite understand how to say things right, should just admit and just say I'm probably not saying this right.
Yeah.
I think we do that on our podcast all the time. We're I don't know if we're quite expressing this correctly, because it's in today's day and age, everything you say can get you in trouble.
It's true.
And so, but that's an interesting quote.
Yeah, I just felt like it was, because when she first started to say that, I started to access parts of myself that I hadn't found before. I thought it was going to be kind of the part of me that,
lusts after women.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be kind of a coming out sort of statement. And then I was like, oh, I don't know about this. I don't know if queerness necessarily is...
my genitals.
It's just, yeah, exactly. It's more than that. It's more complicated than that. So it was an interesting quote. But I still feel like she did a good job.
Oh, no, she was great. I thought both girls were
Well, there was
great.
a couple times where the girl that played the killer, she was kind of like when she was walking down the hill, I was like, oh, come on.
I felt like the scene where she described, before you know that she is a serial killer, she talks about going hunting with her dad.
Oh, and watching the life drain from the
bear? Which was insane.
Red flag again.
That one, I felt like, I think it was the pacing of that scene. It was really slow, and they were acting like the story was
profound,
but it was kind of just like a weird story I could see you talking about that. One time I went hunting and I killed a bear and it was crazy, but it was just kind of an odd...
If anyone I was close to ever told me they enjoyed watching the life drain out of any sort of creature, I'd be really fucking scared.
I'm not sure about you anymore.
Yeah, that's why, again, it's and again, you can criticize and question movie after movie as we're sitting on our couches, didn't do anything to do with it, but I'm wondering, okay, they're married, so they had a courtship, they dated, none of this came out, none of these red flags came out until you went to the cabin?
Yeah, Jules even says you never talk about your dad in that scene. It's well, shouldn't you have talked about it a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he wasn't at the wedding?
Yeah.
Or if he wasn't, there wasn't a
Usually
reason.
on the first date, a lot about the family.
Tim's first dates, they're so I kill people?
Right. I get that all out of the way.
I just need to know what I'm dealing with.
Right. I was like, before we go to the cabin.
Yeah, it was weird, but there's so many red flags. But again, I guess if you're writing a movie, you have 2 hours to tell a story and you want to show that this person, something's off with her. Of course you put in those red flags. But again, us thinking of it out of context are shouldn't these red flags have existed during the relationship? Here's a question for you guys. Do you think it would have made more sense in that way if they had just been dating for 6 months versus married? I guess the life insurance thing wouldn't apply then.
Yeah, I think it would have been more believable. I didn't really care that it wasn't, but you asked the question do you think you would have fallen for it if I feel like people do fall for sociopaths all the time. So
And
I guess it is.
I love them.
People
They're good
always
at
fall for
hiding. They're good
narcissists.
at putting on a front. But I don't know. Maybe it was the insurance component. If they'd taken that out and just let her be a serial killer who liked to take her victims up to the woods and hunt them or whatever, that might have been.
Was
I
that,
don't know.
because you said there was a deleted scene where they explain it more, but was it made clear in the movie that she was killing them for the insurance money.
I heard something about that.
Yes, but then after the fact, it seemed to me like, yes, that was an added bonus, but she didn't. It was more about the kill.
She enjoyed
The fact
it.
that she was like tucking these like mementos behind a wall, it seems like she's getting a little more enjoyment than just the money.
And also, she had finally admits that she did kill little Jenny when they were kids, so no insurance there. So she just enjoyed murdering people.
Well, she's drowned, right? Is that what they
That's
said?
what they said.
Right.
She said when she's killing Sarah, never gonna remember it. When she's killing Sarah, remember she's like, Jenny put up a better fight than you,
that's
and I'm
right.
like, yikes.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I thought in like, this is my horror movie brain, but like I thought that girl's body would come up in like the third act.
That would have been cool.
She's in the water the whole time. Guys, I'm still here.
The bear did come out in the last part. Like, didn't you have a glimpse of a bear?
Yeah, it was actually kind of interesting. So she's having her stroke from the messed up medication. She's going out into the woods, and then it kind of starts to flip between her seeing herself as a young girl and a bear.
I took that as like she's now seeing, just as she enjoyed watching the life drain from like the bear, she's now like in a way watching her own life drain.
That's what I thought that she was seeing herself as the bear, which kind of makes sense because she's like a monster, an animal beast. Sorry, bears. I feel
Sorry,
bad.
bears.
Are you talking
Bears
about
just
gay
canceled
bears?
you.
Gay men bears.
Yeah, no, I thought that too, because I was like, that's the only thing she's now in her life is kind of draining from it. But I
Yeah.
think we all were happy that, I was happy that she finally
Yeah,
got
but
her
I really
comeuppance.
wanted the other girl to live.
Me
So it's
too.
just
Oh,
kind
did she breathe?
I mean, the little, this means laptop, with the whole opening of the laptop, I was like, that's kind of a good reveal, but I just was like, it didn't have like the oomph. I was like, I don't know.
I think they needed to like talk about her insulin more because they mentioned it once briefly. I kind of forgot about it.
I just wish she had finished her off the first time before she left.
I wanted
or
her a
something.
punch like off the cliff.
Yeah, and she kind of could have, right? Because she was totally passed out.
Yeah.
And I guess to explain that, they're in the final kind of chase sequence, right before they start running, she had stabbed her with.
Like a tranquilizer dart.
Yeah, so when they get out there, she's about to push her again, but then she kind of faints.
Yeah, and she shoots her, and then she runs out in the woods. I'm like, okay.
The thing is, though, again, it's easy for us to be like, "Oh, I would have done this." Like,
I know,
my favorite thing is like I've been on a couple game shows, performed badly on all, and everyone and their mom says, "Oh, I would have answered. I would have done this." But like
mom
when
does
you're
that a
in the
lot.
when you're in the moment, it's
Hi,
very
Mom.
different. Now I can only imagine if you're running for your life and you're a moral human being, it's a lot harder to kill someone, even if they're trying to kill you.
Absolutely.
So I think that maybe she didn't kill her because she's just like, even though this person is horrible, like, let's get the authorities involved. That's every horror movie person's mistake, though, because the authorities never get there in time. Yeah.
No, of course. And I wouldn't have, I feel like I couldn't kill
I don't think I
someone,
could
so-
either, unless it's like in the moment
Yes.
where I have to, or if it's to save someone else, you know?
But that's the brilliance of this movie, is that it's a what would you do in this situation? And I think that's why I was so into it in 2024 when I watched it. But I mean, like that is the thing about the movie. It is a what would you do?
Yeah.
And I thought that for the whole thing.
What would you have done?
I would have ran. And that's it.
I think it's interesting too, the fact that they were married, I think is supposed to have more weight to it.
Yeah.
But I just didn't quite like believe, it did kind of feel like they were dating for 6 months. Cause yeah, again, as we've talked about, it's like, how did you not know any of, like have any red flags before this?
Not meeting a family, not seeing any behavioral like things, especially if you're living together, like
Yeah.
you see everything,
Yeah.
as you guys know.
Yeah.
So which one of you is the psychopath and
Yeah.
which one's the narcissist?
I mean, I feel like I'm the more obvious choice, so it's you. Yeah, but yeah, I think this movie, I enjoyed it for the most part, like, and especially when the wife gets pushed off the cliff in the beginning, I audibly, and I never usually like,
That's me. I
don't like audibly say it, but I was like, oh my God, like I just was in shock that happened. And then I do wish it kind of like, it definitely had like momentum throughout, but I was hoping it would have more of those shocking moments. I think the other scene that really stood out to me was the rowboat scene that we mentioned, the chase, and it was like really upsetting to see Jackie catch up to her. And again, as we mentioned too, it's like, why didn't Jules just like yell, like she's gonna die anyway, she might as well just
Scream her head
scream
off.
out, yeah.
I thought that the same when she was telling her to eat breakfast so that her stomach would be full during the autopsy. I'm like, if you're gonna be killed anyway, no.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna
resist.
help you in your
Yeah.
plan.
And so I wonder if it was a little more believable, just like how much like Jules truly believed that this was her wife, like this wasn't her, or something like
She
that.
said something to her which I thought was really interesting before she said, I never loved you at all. She said something like, we can come back from this. I will like stand by you. You need help. Like she basically was saying like, I get that you are something's really wrong with you, but you tried to kill me, but I still love you. I'm your wife. I'm here for you. And I was like, wow, what a touching, scary thing that's happening right now. But then of course, serial killers like, I never even loved you.
Yeah.
That was harsh.
That was hard. That was harsh.
The bond was broken.
Yeah, I feel like as I was watching, I was like thinking a lot of logistics of the movie, which isn't good. Like usually we don't want to be focused on that element. And I think another movie that I thought did a little more successfully was Strange Darling. Yeah. And I feel like they edited the movie out of order. I think really helped. Like instead of being able to like guess what was happening, they kind of like shake it up and make you really confused. Because in the end, it's a really like simple and straightforward story. But they kind of got creative with how they told that story. But again, like with this movie too, like I'm sure it's like a lower budget movie, and I feel like they like really did a lot with the setting they had and it's a very small cast, and I thought it was really effective in that sense.
And just for everybody's context, the Strange Darlings starts out where it seems like there's as I recall, an older man taking advantage of a younger woman in a motel. It's going to turn like dark and sexually violent. And at the same time, you're seeing another sequence where the girl's like running through the woods, so you think she's being chased, but then you find out as the story continues that the woman is this crazy sociopath,
and he's
serial
a cop.
killer. And
That was not an easy film
I
to
loved
watch.
Strange Darling, loved it. I mean, like, I've never seen a movie like that. I mean, not because of the twist, but because of like the telling the chapters out of order. But like you said, like for this movie, and I'm sure whatever budget they had and the people, Strange Darling is like theatrical, huge cast, huge amount of money, like, and just filming like a in the woods type of movie. Every horror filmmaker tries to film a movie in the woods with a killer. This is like one of the better ones. I feel
that
like,
cat and mouse game is kind of played out, but they made it fresh.
Yeah. And it's tough to do that. But yeah, Strange Darling now took it up another notch, And
then with Strange Darling too, the person, it's surprising who ends up being the killer.
Barbara Hershey.
With this movie, I thought it was really interesting because when I first watched the movie, like Jackie has like longer hair. She kind of seemed more feminine to me, whereas like Jules' character seemed a little more masculine. So then I think it was interesting how they flipped it. And like Jules is the one that's very like connected and hoping for this to be a real relationship, and Jackie's like the cold-blooded murderer. So that was interesting. And the fact that like the character of Jackie was originally written as a man, it's interesting to like insert a woman into that role. And
I think,
in watching it didn't feel like an attack on queerness.
No, I agree. I think that's what kind of made me not think about that so much, even though I pulled those quotes, is because they didn't change. I don't think they changed much of the script. They were just like, okay, we're going to put this female character in there, and as a result, it just kind of feels fresh, because it's like, oh, it wasn't written for a woman, it was written just for a male.
Anyone,
But isn't that great? Like, as gay queer people, that it's so. I felt like when I was first coming out, it was so hard to get people to understand that there's nothing different about me other than that I am attracted to the same gender. I have the same fears. I have the same things that make me upset. The same things make me happy. So it's like the fact that they can just switch genders and put them in and not really change a script, and it still makes sense. Like, imagine if they had switched genders and then the whole movie they were having discussions about being a same-sex character. Like, that would be annoying.
Or like rewriting it for, oh, well, she's a girl now, so we got to change.
We got to change everything. So I love that. Like, they just put it in. And guess what? It's the same story. It's the same thing. And like, again, like I said, they don't talk about, like, even when she says she kind of changed her name because like she was kind of in the closet and stuff like that, but they don't harp on that too much. And I like that. I like that in movies nowadays, because it doesn't have to be a big thing. Like, you don't see people of different races like say, I'm this race and this, but I liked that, because yes, of course, they're gonna have different struggles, not saying they're exactly the same as like a heterosexual couple, but like when in terms of you fighting for your life against a psychopath, it doesn't matter queer or straight.
I wish she would have stopped everything, and she goes, we need to talk about it.
I'm a fan. Just so you know. Yeah.
No, but it's so weird, like in 2025, that it's still a conversation. I know it's tough to come out and everything, because, I mean, it trust me, I love when people come out. It's good gossip, but it's really no big deal.
It seems like there's a trend among younger celebrities to sort of treat it that way, where they're like, Like, why are you, like, who cares? Like, why are you asking me?
Like Lindsay Lohan dated the DJ, and we all forgot.
Yeah.
On the flip side, though, I think what you said, it is good probably that they made the more feminine one the killer versus the more masculine, and I do air quotes because what does that even mean? But because in case there are still people watching thinking queer equals serial killer, at least they don't see the more stereotypical, I'm going to keep doing this all the episode, no, stereotypical gay woman as the killer, because then who knows, maybe that could spiral weird thoughts.
Totally.
So I think that was probably a good choice on their part.
But like, in terms of other comps, like Straight Drugs is an interesting one. I also found myself thinking about 10 Cloverfield Lane a little bit. It's a little bit the opposite. Instead of being chased, you're trapped in a place with someone who might be bad and you're not sure. But what I liked about that was that John Goodman in that movie is bad, but then he's also right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and with 10 Cloverfield Lane, what's so interesting about that is you don't really know what the truth is the entire movie, so you're kind of like back and forth questioning if there's like really a danger outside.
Yeah.
And then is John Goodman the most dangerous part about it?
And it was so character driven because in the end of that movie, the main character decides to drive into wherever the aliens are, because over the course of the movie, she's like decided that she used to be someone who ran away from danger, and now she's like, no, I'm gonna fight. And I think that would have been cool if the Jules character had like an arc where when she turns around to go back, you are like, oh, she's a different person now.
Yeah.
But
That was the toughest part of the movie, just her turning around. I was like,
it's like, don't do it.
okay.
Another movie I'd recommend if you like this and that like keeps you guessing, and it has a queer element too. It also is High Tension. Have you heard of it?
No.
It's a
Australian?
French? I thought it was French
maybe it is
horror
French.
movie. A similar vibe, a little bit more gory. Big kind of twist. I mean, now that I said that, you're gonna watch it and just think whatever you think is going on is not. But it's a good movie. But watch Scream 2 first.
And then also I think this just speaks to Jordan Peele's like huge impact on horror. The main character and like the way she was keeping those talismans, it made me think of Allison Williams in Get Out.
Yeah, she does. She kind of reminds me of that. Especially, remember the scene in Get Out when she is like, I think she's eating cereal with just like no reaction on her face, but she's like on a call and pretending like she's like scared and whatever, and then she's just eating cereal.
That scene cracks me up so much. You brought it up, I have to talk about it. Is she's on her bed and she goes and uses the search engine Bing, which is like only a psychopath would use Bing instead of Google.
That was the scariest part.
She has a bowl of dry cereal and then she has a glass of milk and she eats dry cereal and then drinks out of a straw the milk. I'm like, how fucked up is this woman?
But like anyone pretending to be scared but really not, like that is like
they can like it's a flip
and they just
a
like
switch,
switch like that. Even like doesn't Allison in Get Out when she's like wears like a jumpsuit, almost like hunting gear, like the girl, like Jackie did in this one.
There was a similarity.
And I think, wait, what year did Get Out come out?
2016, I think.
Was it that early?
I remember
2018?
I was living in DC.
It may be. I feel like it may be 2018, but, which is funny because these movies came out the same.
2017.
Yeah, 2017.
Oh, okay. So they could have
So it's
pulled
possible-
from it. Psychopaths in movies.
I love them.
With Get Out, I feel like they really hold the suspense for a long time too with that. Whereas this movie, what I really appreciate about it is that big, like when she pushes her wife, that's like the inciting incident pretty much, right? Is her pushing her wife off.
It was pretty quick into the movie, I thought.
And then,
like
it's
30
like,
minutes in.
yeah, and it's like shockingly violent. So that's why I was saying, oh my God. But then I'm also like, what is the rest of this movie going to be about if her wife's dead?
Well, when she went back to the house and she was messing up the house, I was like, oh, don't do anything because then she'll know that you're in the house. But she was like, I don't care.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm here.
And also, it's just like I was thinking, you fall off a cliff and like. First, I remember thinking, if she doesn't have at least one broken bone, then I'm out of this movie. And luckily she did, because I was like, you can't fall
Luckily
off.
she had some broken bones.
But I mean, if she had fallen off and had been like, okay, we're all good. But luckily she, was in horrible pain and stuff. And she probably was like, who knows, like her brain could have been hemorrhaging.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice that like her makeup was like this, dried blood on her face for like a huge amount of time?
Yeah. After she gets pushed off and then she crawls away, and then the whole night she has to stay alive.
You would need a nap.
Yeah.
But what keeps you alive?
Yogurt.
Wait, so what? The movie's kind of like posing a question. What is the
But it's
answer
funny
to
because
that?
it doesn't have a question mark. So it's like, what keeps you alive?
More of a statement.
It comes from the story. I'm trying to remember that about her dad, where the bear, she doesn't have a knife with her. She shoots the bear. The bear is very gravely injured, but takes a very long time to die. She watches it die. She likes it. Then later on, her dad gives her a special knife and is like, next time, take this with you. It's what keeps us alive. I think that's what it was.
Well, maybe what keeps the psychopath Jackie alive is going on these hunts and killing people. Maybe that's the only thing she finds
Fun.
exciting.
Yeah.
And then for the other girl, maybe it's love.
I think it
Or what
was.
she thought. I don't know.
Because the seagull, bald eagle thing.
I didn't get that.
So seagulls are, I think, like a lesbian symbol, or like maybe they can be queer. I don't know. I think there's something about seagulls and queerness,
I never knew that.
which would speak to the love.
Now,
thing.
dolphins, on the other hand, I
Let me
get.
look it up in case I'm making this up. Okay, there are lesbian seagulls.
There's
Apparently,
lesbian seagulls.
that revealed a history of suppressed science. Okay, so maybe the same-sex mating of seagulls is something that had been studied and then forgotten about, and then people were like, oh yes, 1977, Science magazine about lesbian seagulls. Researchers George and Molly Hunt were observing the gulls on Santa Barbara Island, 38 miles off the California coast. Blah, blah,
I just
blah.
want a movie about lesbian seagulls.
Yeah, now I do too. But then the bald eagle thing, what? I assume it's predatory?
All I thought of when she said bald eagle was like the symbol of our country, like our flag. So I'm like, oh, she's real patriotic, yeah. No, but it's got to be something with predatory versus prey. Like I guess seagulls don't hunt things other than worms and stuff at the beach.
Or maybe it's like that they're deceiving because, like, oh, it's a symbol of love, but then maybe there's something about them where they actually can
They're
kill.
probably, there's got to be something.
We need to know more about birds to understand this.
Yes. This movie's bird focused.
It's very bird heavy. There's no denying it.
When you switch the character to a same-sex couple, is that when you introduced the lesbian
Yeah,
seagulls?
so it's not always part of the movie.
Lesbian seagulls. Yeah, I don't know. But that, I mean, they did make they like a concerted effort to mention that story, so it has to mean something.
And then she sees the bald eagle, and that's why she turns around.
Yeah, maybe it is. It's like, oh my God, she's gonna prey on other women.
I think
next.
maybe
Oh,
that's
you know
it.
what? Now that makes sense to me because this whole time we've been saying like, why'd she go back? Why'd she go back? Maybe she's protecting all the other women that will fall prey to this crazy.
I mean, that makes sense.
Okay,
But that's
so
true. She got out, but she
Yeah.
doesn't want her to.
it's very noble. I would have been like, woo.
I feel like there was another way she could have done it, like, oh, I'm gonna call the police right now.
That too. That could have
and-
worked.
I mean, I guess she figured by the time the police got there, she would have left, changed her name, and
Back to
Brittany.
Megan.
Who's gonna get that house, that beautiful house across from the river that the couple got killed in?
She chopped up that couple and put them in the river.
Wait, wasn't that creepy when she was like, watch me do this because you're gonna do the next one?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's so awful.
Well, didn't they show her barf like twice? Which I don't like barfing
No,
in
me
films.
There's too much barfing in movies
It's a
and
epidemic.
TV shows. It's happening all the time.
Just go like this.
Yeah.
You get it. Nosferatu loves bodily fluids.
I did. I kind of looked away at those parts.
Oh, I was just like, gross. I didn't like the movie.
I actually did. But I feel like I'm in the
did?
minority. Yeah, I don't know why.
But Nicholas Hoult was great in it. I think his performance was the only one I liked.
Same,
in Nosferatu. I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but I see why people liked it. I
hope it sweeps the Oscar.
I don't know. But I mean, I also, like, we talk about this on the podcast too. There's certain types of movies that aren't our type. Like,
Yeah.
we love, like, the big slashers of the 80s, 90s, and things like that. I don't know, even if Nosferatu was incredible, I don't know if it would have been our type
Right.
of movie.
Yeah.
And then there's slasher movies that some people are just like, I hate slasher movies. So even if it's a good one, not gonna like. So
Yeah.
Well, so what's the best slasher movie?
Friday the 13th.
Halloween, the original Halloween, 1978. We fight about this all the time.
I
All
love
the
Friday
time.
13th.
He's a Friday the 13th guy. I'm a Halloween guy. Luckily, we've talked to people from both series, and we always ask people, like, what do you like better, Halloween or Friday the 13th? And
That's kinda
so what do you
fun.
guys like better, Halloween or Friday the... Well, first off, oh God, have you seen the original Halloween, 1978, Jamie Lee Curtis?
Yes.
Okay, have you seen the original Friday the 13th, 1980?
I'm
Yeah.
not
With
sure.
where the mom is the killer.
Yeah.
You just gave it away.
Well...
It's a big twist.
45 years later. Okay, what do you like better? And you can be totally
I
honest.
probably would choose Halloween. I'm
You know
like less
what?
familiar with
This
Friday
is-
the
We're
13th.
done.
Good. Yeah, so you have good taste. Things. So, okay.
So I love Halloween, and I don't know if I've seen Friday the 13th. So I would
Gotta
say
get added to the
Halloween.
you have like
It's a
7
treat.
movies.
You'll
but
love it.
Okay, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
I have 3 movies to watch.
Yes.
I Scream 2 has to be taken because you know you're gonna forget this reference
you're right.
after tonight. So if you watch Scream 2 and she literally has this outfit on, she's my favorite ghost face because she's batshit crazy. It was just genius. I just
My
love this
movie has a bigger twist, and they rip off. This movie rips off my movie.
He is right.
I wish I was wearing my Jason Mom T-shirt.
Should have.
No, just have a parrot.
Friday the
I like
13th.
the parrot though.
It's so random. When he got in the car today, I said, "What are you wearing?"
It's bird related,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
connected to the lesbian
There's
sequel.
a demon
I didn't even-
inside.
I am the demon inside.
Matt and Tim, given your background in horror movies, if people like enjoy this movie, what would you say is like a good?
High Tension, I would recommend. Another in the middle of nowhere, not so much twisty, but just like cat and mouse thriller that we loved and was written by Kevin Williamson, who did the Scream movies that came out last year, was Sick. It was a pandemic-related.
I think it's on
thriller.
Peacock.
Yeah, it's really great. I think that the good thing about movies like this is that even if you're not a horror fan, you just like thrillers or like action movies. In a way, this had components of that. So people who are like, "Ooh, I can't stand all the blood and stuff." If you like a movie that keeps you on the edge of your seat, like I think you'll like this movie. So
I was really, really into it. Sick is your best bet.
Okay.
Sick is great, and and especially because like it takes you back to that time when the pandemic first started. But it's like put that together with a in the middle of nowhere invasion thriller, and yeah.
Well, could you let our listeners know where they can find Happy Horror Time?
Yeah, we are on Facebook, Instagram, X, Blue Sky, TikTok, because it's still around.
Yeah, it's here.
And YouTube at Happy Horror Time, just HappyHorrorTime. We're also on all the podcast streaming services like Apple, Pandora, Spotify, and we do episodes every week. We either review a new horror movie or we interview a horror star or filmmaker, and we kind of just like interchange those episodes.
And if you had to pick an episode, what's your favorite that you've done so far?
Wow.
That's a good question, Jeff.
Like an episode or an interview. Like we've
It
had...
depends on like if you like Friday 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, or Halloween.
Yeah.
Because we tend to get those guests a lot.
Well, one of the interviews I think we're most proud of is with Kevin Williamson, because not just because we think he's like a horror genius, but because we got to talk to about so many movies we loved, like the Scream series, I Know What You Did Last Summer, The Faculty, and Sick, all the stuff he's done. But we also talked to just random like Friday the 13th alums and random...
Well, we got the original final girl, Adrienne King, from the original Friday 13th, and I thought that was a really fun interview. Yeah.
But
and Amy Steele from part 2. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Friday 13th.
And a Friday the 13th. We've gotten some Halloween, but we've gotten actually 2 people. For me, we've gotten 3 people from the original Halloween. It's like everyone but Jamie Lee Curtis. We got, if you remember in Halloween, there's the 3 girls. So we've talked to the 2 girls that aren't Jamie Lee Curtis, and we've talked to the guy who played Michael Myers. So we're like rotating around Jamie Lee.
My dad is from a small town, Pontiac, Illinois, and in like the 80s, they filmed a movie there called Granville, USA, starring Jamie Lee Curtis, this really forgotten movie.
I've seen it. See Thomas Howell, Patrick Swayze.
Yeah, it's shot in Pontiac, Illinois, and she like shook up this small little town. There's like a story that's like spread. I don't know if it's a true story, but like the rumor spread that she showed up into some like consignment shop, and she was trying on clothes and she stripped naked and changed clothes in the store, and like that rumor spread across the town. She like became a legend.
We talked, so one of her early horror movies was Prom Night, and we talked to one of her co-stars on the podcast, and he said that remember she like, and they're very young, and they went to like a store,
the mall.
and she like was changing shirts in the thing, so like he would just see her in her bra, and she'd be like, hey, da-da-da. So I 100%
I think
Like,
she's
yeah.
comfortable in her body. She doesn't
Yeah.
care.
Well, thank you guys again for coming on our podcast.
Man, maybe we'll have you guys come on for
Love to,
horror
anytime.
movie. Yeah, that'd be fun, and we can review a movie together.
I love that idea, especially because apparently there's many I need to see.
Yeah. First, you got to go through that list.
Yeah, then we can
Then we
talk.
talk.
All right, this is Queer Cinema Catchup. I'm Joe.
I'm Allison.
And Queer Cinema Catchup is the podcast we're talking about movies, TV, and miscellaneous topics through a queer lens. Matt and Tim, thank you so much for coming on.
thank
you for having
us.
Please listen to Happy Horror Time. This is our podcast episode about
What's the
keeps you
title
alive?
again? Hang
What
on.
keeps you alive?
What keeps you alive?
right.
Great movie. Okay title.